What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you're excited. Today is Wednesday, August 31st, 2022, the final day of August, the next month that our calendar reads, and it'll happen tonight at midnight, is the month of football. Tomorrow marks September 1st. At the end of the month, we got to wake up Green Day. That's the ritual every single year. We're getting closer and closer and closer to football. In fact, we're 8 days away from the regular season beginning. Obviously, the LA Rams and Buffalo Bills playing next Thursday. Our Dallas Cowboys playing next Sunday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And will they have a new player on their team? We're going to talk about the big rumor floating around the Cowboys right now, and of course, all of the practice squad stuff that came out on Wednesday. We are live currently. If you're watching us on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel, make sure you do subscribe. Maybe you're watching us after the fact. Of course, that's the magic of the internet that you can watch whenever you want. But Jason Peters scheduled to visit the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday. Holy crap, let's lose our minds. Let's all get excited. Let's all get pumped up. This is, look, we've been in a bit of a bad place. Our pets' heads have been falling off for the last week. It was actually a week ago tonight. It was Wednesday night last week when Tyron Smith, the news came out, the hamstring thing. It only got worse as the day unfolded, and First Take was at the Star on Thursday. Tyron Smith maybe will return to the Cowboys in December. Who knows? I don't think that's going to happen personally. I've been proven wrong many different times and will be in the future, but the Cowboys have to operate as if Tyron Smith is not returning. They cannot count on that. It wouldn't be responsible of them. DeLunatic, thanks for joining us, says, finally, Peters is a positive addition. Come on, Steven, fix this. Adam Moses says, much needed swing tackle. Totally disagree, Adam. This is not a swing tackle. This is a left tackle. Jason Peters has to be a Dallas Cowboy, all right? The visit's supposed to happen on Thursday with Steven, Jerry, Will, Mike, whatever you're doing, you cannot let him leave. I hate to do the don't let him out of the building thing, but do not let him out of the building. Now, there are some people who are being a bit negative about this. All right. Now, I understand that I can cast my aspersions on the Cowboys from time to time, but I don't know how you cannot look at this as anything other than the best possible solution. Is Jason Peters one of the best left tackles in the NFL today? No, I'm not going to lie to you. Is Jason Peters the prime version of himself today as we get ready for September? No, obviously not. But Jason Peters is the worst, an average tackle in the NFL, as DeLunatic points out in our live stream. 15 games last year with Chicago, only earning $1.25 million or $750,000. Excuse me, Steven numbers right there. That's well. David says signed him. He has experience and he was above average last year. That's the thing. Jason Peters, he's an above average left tackle in the NFL. And when you say that sentence out loud, a lot of people roll their eyes and say, I don't want above average. You need above average. We need above average. Above average is living in the penthouse compared to what the Cowboys have. Look, I'm excited about Tyler Smith. I think we're all excited about Tyler Smith. I think we all believe in the future of Tyler Smith. But you cannot sit here and pretend just off of hope that he is already a viable left tackle in the NFL. If we examine the case, Tyler Smith has not even seen snaps at left tackle since June. He has been seeing all of his work, obviously, at guard since then. He has never played in the NFL, let alone has never played the left tackle position in the NFL. And according to Jerry Jones in his appearance on 105 Through the Fan on Tuesday morning, he is dealing with a high ankle sprain. You do not want to go down this road, people. None of us do. We do not want to go down this road and set Tyler Smith up poorly. Jason Peters has to happen. Let's get to your comments. Shane Carter says going from one Hall of Fame tackle to another is good for Dak's health and great for Tyler Smith's development. Totally agree. You give Tyler Smith a Hall of Famer to learn from, to Shane's point. I mean, it would have been awesome if that had been Tyron Smith, but I mean, you have to give Tyler Smith an opportunity. It would be so unfair to force Tyler Smith to go through this baptism by fire and fail. The way, the Cowboys have set players up poorly in the past. Now, some of that's on the players, but the Cowboys have done them no favors. We talked about this in our roundtable show here on the Blog and the Boys YouTube channel on Tuesday. Chaz Green was awful for the Cowboys, but he was not exactly helped by the team. He was put on an island and put under a magnifying glass, and when he failed, everybody blamed him for it and really didn't put a ton of blame or responsibility on the team. The Lunatic says, do not put 73, talking about Tyler Smith here, at left tackle with a high ankle sprain. I agree. Nick says, sign him. David says he wasn't even supposed to play left tackle last year. He played guard and switched mid-season and still did well. Look, you have to do this if you're the Cowboys. You have to. There's no way that you can go into this season, with Tyler Smith as your starting left tackle and pretend that everything's going to be fine. And look, I'm not trying to kill the Cowboys for this. This right here, the interest in Jason Peters, having him for a visit, this is going to happen on September 1st, as mentioned with the calendar turning. This is the most seriously that the Cowboys have taken the tackle position all offseason. That's like, look, don't sit here and tell me the Cowboys drafted Tyler Smith. No, they did not draft Tyler Smith to play tackle in 2022. This right here, it took all the way till September, but the Cowboys finally are doing something that shows that they understand the severity of the situation at a tackle right now. And this, to be very clear here too, does not fix their swing tackle problems. All right, sign Jason Peters ASAP, please. But you also need help at swing tackle. Josh Ball ain't it. Matt Willette's going in. You cannot just sign Jason Peters and say, that's it. I've done enough work for the day. I'm going to be done. Now, David Lawrence says the only downside to this is hearing Eagles fans' mouth. It's worth the jokes, though. Obviously, Jason Peters has played a majority of his career, his Hall of Fame career, with the Philadelphia Eagles, but did play last year with the Chicago Bears. Ray says, get this man signed. I agree. And again, as mentioned, his value to the Cowboys, Jason Peters, extends beyond the fact. Look, here's what Jason Peters brings you. He gives you a starting average left tackle in the NFL. Again, even if you call him average, that is a huge thing to have. That we're like, if you're sitting here saying like, I don't need an average tackle, you are dramatically underestimating how valuable that is to an NFL team. He gives you an average left tackle in the NFL. Okay, great. What else does he do? He gives you a hopefully above average left guard in the NFL, right? We're all excited about Tyler Smith, and he allows you an opportunity, Jason Peters does, to have Tyler Smith thrive next to a would-be Hall of Famer like him. He gives you the best out of your first-round pick, which is what we all wanted Tyron to be again, but Jason Peters offers that to you. What else does the domino effect of that offer? Well, if Tyler Smith's playing left guard, you know who's not playing left guard? Connor McGovern. And all due respect to Connor McGovern, I don't think any of us are pumped about that idea. So if you sign Jason Peters, it's not even two birds, one stone. It's like the whole flock with one stone, because you take care of left tackle, you take care of left guard, you take care of interior depth along your entire offensive line by keeping Connor McGovern in the fold. This has to happen. There's no reason to explain why this isn't going to work. I don't want to hear anything on Thursday that's, well, it didn't happen because of this, blah, 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 whatever. No. It has to happen. Lamar says Jason Peters was ranked a top 20 offensive tackle by PFF last season and would be a great mentor for the O-line room. Lamar, I hate to ruin your point. He was actually the 21st tackle by PFF standards as far as offensive grades are concerned. If you look at the overall, you can obviously separate that by pass blocking and run blocking. But again, like, he is an average tackle, which is the point. The Lunatic says Philadelphia drafted Rayford and now traded Rager is who you were talking about. So confused about that. Who cheered when Filthy took him because they wanted Jefferson. That will shut them up for a while. That's fine. AJ says Jason will not only be a huge swing tackle upgrade, but also another mentor for Tyler Smith. He played on a small deal with Chicago. Zero downside. Agreed. Donnie, yes, let Peters help mentor Tyler Smith and Matt Willette's go and ball while Tyron Smith is recovering. David says, yeah, an average left tackle is a big deal. Nick says, I don't care if he used to play for as long as he's good. He is, so sign him. The Lunatic says, and no need to wait till after week one. Peters will play most of the season. Yeah, look, here's the thing. In the NFL, and we're going to get to some of the particular details of rosters here in a little bit when we talk about the practice squad players, because there is some kind of stuff that's a little bit weird about the way the Cowboys are constructing it, but we'll get there soon. If the Cowboys wait until after week one, all right, the salaries are no longer something that guarantees when it comes to veterans. The Cowboys are notorious for wanting to do that. You have the cap space, Steven. You've been saving it for a rainy day. It's raining all over the state of Texas right now. It's awesome. It actually feels like fall. It's really cool. But still, all right, Steven, who cares? You have to do it. You have to figure out a way. This has to happen. And I don't mean to be dramatic, but it is kind of a dramatic thing, right? You're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 13 days at this point? No, that can't be right. I'm messing that up. Instead of 10 days, 10, 11 days, whatever. You're playing them in a week and a half. You have to get this done. And I don't care if Jason Peters doesn't play week one. That will suck, but you have to get this done. People say, oh, I'd rather have Eric Fisher. I'd rather have Brian Balog. I'd rather have Marcus Cannon. I'd rather trade for Isaiah Wynn. I'd rather do whatever. Who cares? At this point, you need somebody. And I know that people were upset about the Chuma Edoga rumors and whatever, blah, blah, blah. This is a real name. This is a real person. This is a real certifiable, trustworthy, average, perennial left tackle in the NFL. And I don't want to hear this, let him play swing tackle. No, hell no. Let Jason Peters play left tackle. And look, I'm not at all pumped that Tyron Smith got hurt. All right, we're all obviously very upset about that. But Jason Peters is not showing up to play swing tackle for you. That's not where he's not 40 years old and looking for a job to play swing tackle. Jason Peters is showing up to be your starting left tackle from week one all the way through the Super Bowl. We're all obviously hoping, but let's see here. Afra says this is the best case for poor Tyler Smith right now, but it should have been inked days ago. I agree. It's look, like I said, it's been a week almost. Tonight will mark a week that the Cowboys have gone without bringing somebody in the aftermath of the Tyron Smith injury. And you can argue, I wouldn't, but you can argue they had a preseason game to tend to. They had the construction of their 53-man roster to tend to, the construction of their practice squad to tend to. So maybe that kind of captured their attention. Again, you should be able to juggle multiple balls in the air at once, but I'm willing to give them just a teeny tiny bit of leeway on that. James says, absolutely, it's dramatic. You can't have your $40 million quarterback get hurt when your backup quarterbacks aren't even good enough to get claimed off of waivers. Again, we'll get to that. That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about. David Lawrence says Trent Williams and Peters are the same age. Williams is still the best left tackle. Look, I know Brandon Thorne, who's one of the best offensive line evaluators, is still really high on Jason Peters. I think miss me with this, like he's 40, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? He's a very, very, very good left tackle. And you know what you don't even have right now if you're the Dallas Cowboys? A good left tackle. I hate to say that. They do not have a good left tackle. We don't even know what kind of left tackle. Think about it. The only left tackle options the Cowboys have on their roster currently right now, Tyler Smith, Matt Waletzko, Josh Ball. Can you say with a straight face that any of those are good left tackle options? You can't, because we don't know. So the fact that, Jason Peters is just literally a human being who exists is almost, in that just like bare minimum sense, an upgrade over what you have if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Ray says left tackle Peters, left guard Smith, Biotish, Steele, Martin. I think you're talking still at right tackle. You had LT on the comments. Says this would make me feel better about our line and about Dak being protected and us winning, making the playoffs and stuff. Agreed. I think that there's there's a path to us chugging the Kool-Aid, right? Like we're just kind of a few, snaps away from being all the way back in on this team. You're talking like the offensive line you listed. I'm totally with you. Michael Gallup is hopefully going to be back sooner rather than later. So now we're all of a sudden we're back, right? Like we're like a Zeke 100-yard game away from being all the way back in on this team and giving them our full heart. So we'll see. Moda says we don't even have a serviceable left tackle. Zam DFW says sign Peters with the availability clause. I would seriously worry that we get half the season from him. Fine. You know what? If you get half the season, cool. Right now, you have 0% of a season. You have nothing. You have no left tackle right now. If you get one game from him, it's worth it. And for us, for Zam DFW, for Moda, for myself, this ain't our money. Like, do it. Spend it. You've put us through this ringer all off season long. The least you could do is bring in somebody viable to be your starting left tackle and give us at the very least the opportunity and the material to troll Eagles fans when Jason Peters is like 10th in PFF's gradings this season. Andres says 40 years young is the new 30. That's well said, Andres. That's very, very well said. Shane says Peters fills the holes at both left tackle and left guard. McGovern is still a left side liability. Totally agree. So we're talking about, he gives you that interior depth. But what I do want to say is if the Cowboys pull this off, we will give them their flowers. I'll line up like a flower girl walking down the aisle, and I will give the Cowboys their flowers. Steven, here's a flower. Jerry, here's a flower. Will, here's a flower. Mike, here's a flower. Jason, here's a flower for you. Everybody gets their flowers, but then I'll turn around and do it again if you bring in a swing tackle option. You cannot. And I wrote about this recently at our site. You cannot just sign Jason Peters and, okay, cool, well, you got a left tackle, we're done here. No, because you're one injury away from being in this boat again. So you have to make sure you have a viable swing tackle option, but you have to make sure then if that is the case that you have enough room on the 53-man roster. Now, the Cowboys did make some 53-man roster adjustments today on Wednesday. Let's take a look at what is currently the 53-man roster. If you're watching it live, this is active. If you're watching this later, maybe if you're watching this Thursday, it's possible that this has changed, but this is the 53-man roster in its current construction as of 5 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, August 31st. The moves that the Cowboys made today, they put Tyron Smith, obviously we love him, and James Washington on injured reserve, so they're gone. Maybe we'll see Washington mid-October. Maybe we'll see Tyron Smith in December. Who knows? But so they're on injured reserve. The two players back for the Cowboys are, look, you've got to bring somebody back. Hang on. This is the wrong graphic, I think. Let's get the proper 53-man roster here. Here it is. The players the Cowboys have brought back, the one I had on the screen was the initial 53-man roster. Apologies. Jake McQuaid and CJ Goodwin back. So what you're looking at now that I got the right thing on the screen is the 53-man roster of this moment. All right. You cannot tell me, by the way, Moda says if 40 is a new 30, what did I miss? Because I don't feel like I'm in my 30s. Moda, you look great. All right. Don't worry about that. There are some things that are weird about this, right? There's still no kicker here in Brett Maher. and there's still no backup quarterback. There's no Cooper Rush. There's no Will Grier. Both of them are on the practice squad, which leads us into our discussion. Let's make sure I have the right graphic here. I don't want to steer you down the wrong path again. All right. So as of Wednesday, August 31st at 5 p.m. Central Time, this is the Dallas Cowboys practice squad. All right. You can see Cooper Rush, Will Grier there at the top. Malik Davis made it back. Everybody said it's not going to happen. There's no way he's going to get claimed. He didn't get claimed. We all love Malik Davis. Hopefully he's a part of this team for a long time. Quadri Allison is a running back, the only external player that has reportedly been added to the Cowboys practice squad. This was reported by PFF. The Cowboys themselves have not confirmed Allison's presence on the practice squad. That's why we have that asterisk there. The Dallas Morning News did confirm that there was interest, so we'll see, but that is kind of a tentative one. The other ones are all accurate. Now, you will see here that there are 16 names and there is one TBD spot. The Cowboys can actually have 17 players on their practice squad. Every NFL team can only have 16, but Isaac Alarcon does have the exemption as a part of the NFL's International Pathway Program. So 17 slots available for the Cowboys. We do have Allison penciled in. Again, that is a tentative thing. And even if the Cowboys do wind up signing him to the practice squad, that would still leave them one practice squad room to work with. So what is the thing, RJ, that you were going to talk about? What's the weird idea? What are the Cowboys doing? Well, I'll tell you what. They don't have a quarterback besides Dak Prescott on their roster. They have Cooper Rush and Will Grier. Let's look at the roster. All right, this is the 53, and this is the practice squad. Thank goodness I got that down. Brett Maher is here, right? So we're looking at the very least at 2 players on this list on the practice squad that have to at some point be on the 53-man roster when the Cowboys play a game. And so that is why, if you have been, watching our shows, if you've been reading our articles, we've been saying, if you look at the roster as is, there are 2 players who the Cowboys are going to have to move on from. All right. Now there's 3, even if you're wanting to factor Jason Peters into the mix, right? What 3 players are you getting rid of here to make room for Cooper Rush, for Brett Maher, for Jason Peters? I don't know. I mean, maybe the Cowboys put one of these players on injured reserve. Maybe it's John Ridgeway. Maybe it's, I don't know, Matt Farniok. Kelvin Joseph practiced on Wednesday, so it doesn't seem like it's going to be him. Israel Mukwamu, somebody who we've kind of thought about, kind of speculated about. We're trying to figure out the way, because you have to fit these players in. Now, Donnie says, I heard it confirmed Cooper Rush is QB2. Mike McCarthy did say in his press conference on Wednesday that Cooper Rush is going to be the backup. But here's the thing, and I don't think that we had, I'll be honest, like this is a weird kind of new thing, which is why we hadn't totally considered it. Let's look back at the practice squad here. You're looking at 16 names, and again, Quadri Allison, not a guarantee, but the other ones have been confirmed by the Cowboys themselves. All right. There is a rule. Rule might not even be the best way to put it. There is a technicality. There is a loophole that allows you to effectively have 55 players on your team, not the 53 that we conventionally know it to be. Now, what you're looking at here is 53 players. This can be very confusing, so I'm going to do my very best to explain it. Let me get the graphic off screen. So this is the way rosters work in the NFL. You're going to have 53 players on your team at all times, right, during the regular season. That's why it's called a 53-man roster. On game days, you have to have 46 of them be active. So you have 7 inactive players, right? We all know this, tale as old as time, blah, blah, blah. Well, as a part of the new CBA that was negotiated in 2020, obviously during the height of the pandemic, the NFL allowed for a roster, we'll call it a quirk, right? The NFL allowed for 2 extra game day spots. So technically, on game day, you can have 55 players on your roster, with 2 of them coming from your practice squad. So what you're looking at right here is 53 players. The Lunatic gets this comment here, says you can call up 2 players to the 53 after 3 times they have to be signed to the 53. Now, I read the CBA, the portion of it that is relevant today, talked about it with some of my colleagues at SB Nation, and here is my understanding. All right, so as the Lunatic says, you can call up 2 players from your practice squad throughout the season, but it is not 3 times. It is actually only 2 times that you're allowed to do it. You can call up players from your practice squad for 2 games. Our understanding of it, this part of it is an assumption, is that 3rd time would be in the emergency case of some sort of positive COVID test. So let me lay out the hypothetical that I think the Cowboys might be playing with, might be working with, to be a little bit creative. As mentioned, I know I'm going back and forth a lot here. The UPS truck just dropped something off, so my dog is barking in the background. Let's pretend the Cowboys had a game today. All right, let's pretend. By the way, Lamar says hit that like button. I would like everybody to hit that like button and subscribe here to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. That would make me very happy. Let's pretend the Cowboys have a game today. They're going to go play. All right, pick an opponent, whoever it is. They don't have a backup quarterback. They don't have a kicker. What are they going to do? What happens if Dak gets hurt? What are they going to do when they have to kick field goals or extra points? What's going to happen? They literally don't have anybody. Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to pull 2 players from their practice squad up to make their 53-man roster a 55-man roster. That is legal, and you can do that for these players. Let's use Cooper Rush and Brett Maher as an example. You can do that with the 2 of them for 2 games. So let's say they do that for the first 2 games of the season. The Cowboys promote Cooper Rush and Brett Maher from the practice squad to what then becomes the 55-man roster as they play those games. So technically speaking, the Cowboys do not have to carry either Brett Maher or whatever backup quarterback they prefer. Mike McCarthy did say on Wednesday that it's Cooper Rush. They do not have to carry them for 2 weeks, right? Because you can do this twice. Now, what happens is if the Cowboys do this, the Lunatic says they're going to call up Rush and Greer. They can get 4 weeks from them and give us time to get players healthy. They can only do it twice. That's the thing here. Again, they can only do it for 2 games. It's not, I think this is a common misconception. That's why I wanted to touch on it in the video. All right. Now, ZamDFW says there will be a revolving door with the practice squad. McCarthy said Cooper Rush is 2. Here's what I'm thinking. All right. Now, this is all kind of speculating and trying to put this puzzle together. Let's say the Cowboys are playing the Bucs tomorrow. They would promote Cooper Rush and Brett Maher from the practice squad to the 55-man roster. Again, what would become a 55-man roster. Okay, they go play that game. They win it 50-0. Awesome, right? They do it again the next week. Maher, Cooper Rush on the practice squad. Technically, they go play the Bengals. They promote them for that game. They win 50-0. They're 2-0. Obviously, times are good here at Blogging the Boys. All right, so what happens after that? Because at that point in time, you've got these 2 players on the practice squad. At that point in time, you have to waive them. All right. After 2 games, you have to waive them. And you have to waive them because you need them the next week. You can only use this little trick. You can only use this little loophole to get them on the roster for 2 games. So let's say the Cowboys did that. After week 2, they would cut, waive, whatever word you prefer here, Cooper Rush and Brett Maher in this hypothetical. They would seemingly, we all think, clear waivers. Nobody would want anything to do with them, right? No offense to either player here. And then the Cowboys could sign them outright and put them back on their practice squad or put them back on their now 53-man roster. And at that point, they would have to make an actual roster decision. They would have to let go of somebody to make room for Cooper Rush. They would have to let go of somebody to make room for Brett Maher. I hope all this is making sense. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments. I know it's very, very confusing. We spent about an hour, myself and some people at SB Nation, trying to kind of crack this code because it is a little bit weird. So what it seems like the Cowboys might be doing, because there is no logical reason to have both of their backup quarterback options on their practice squad, specifically Cooper Rush, because Mike McCarthy said himself on Wednesday that he is their QB2. If he's your QB2, if he's your primary backup quarterback, why is he not on your 53-man roster? Why would you sign him to the practice squad? Why wouldn't you have, after you put either Tyron Smith or James Washington on the injured reserve, why would you not then have just outright put Cooper Rush on the 53-man roster if he's going to be your backup quarterback? It's because the Cowboys, to the point in the comment section a little while ago, can buy some time. They can buy 2 more weeks with 2 more roster spots. Take a look at this. If I told you had to generate 2 more roster spots, who would you cut? You'd probably have a little bit of a hard time because you also probably have to get rid of a 3rd player, like we said, hypothetically, for Jason Peters. So if right now I told you this list you're looking at, you have to get rid of 3 players, it's a little bit hard. And what would you like? You would like more time. You would like more time to figure it out because who knows? Say in week 1, one of these players gets hurt. You can put them on injured reserve. You have no idea what's going to happen in the game of football. More time is a good thing. The Lunatic says with Goodwin and maybe Noah Brown, they could do the roster gymnastics longer. Exactly. So what they could do is, like the Lunatic is saying, is after they could play the revolving door game with players who are, to be frank, down the roster. Say the Cowboys have a handful of guys who they think nobody would claim in the NFL, right? These have to be kind of youngish guys, but we're talking Cooper Rush, Brett Maher, CJ Goodwin, Noah Brown. Pick somebody else if you think, is maybe Luke Gifford. These would have to be players, again, who the Cowboys feel confident betting on, putting on waivers, nobody claiming, and then being able to bring them back. So as an example, to live into Lunatic's hypothetical here, after week 2, the Cowboys could cut or waive Cooper Rush and or Brett Maher. It would have to be both of them, actually. They would pass through waivers. They would be eligible to be brought back to the team. They could only play then, though, if they were on this group, if they were on the 53-man roster. But at that point in time, you could, James says here, if I have to cut 3, it's Gifford, Goodwin, and Basham. At that point, you could cut all 3 of them. At that point, you could cut all 3 of them. After they clear waivers, you could sign them to your practice squad. And then you start the clock over. You do the same thing over with them, right? You have them on the practice squad for those weeks. You promote them to your 55-man roster on game day. You do it 2 weeks in a row. And then guess what? You got to find 2 more players to cut. You got to find 3 more players to cut. You can only do this with 2 players. You can't have a 70-man game day roster, but you can do it with 2 players every single game. The trick is you can only do it for 2 games for each person. Cooper Rush, Brett Maher, Terrell Basham, Luke Gifford, CJ Goodwin, Noah Brown, whoever. They can only have this special trick used for them 2 times per season per team. Say Cooper Rush, for example, the Cowboys did this with him for 2 games. Say he got cut, say he got waived, and say that, 49ers, claimed him. They could do this with him too. You could technically have it done for you more times by different teams, but only twice for each team per season. So the Cowboys maybe have identified some players down near the end of their roster who they're prepared to kind of gamble with so that they can technically have 55 players available to them for a game day. It allows them to not necessarily have to carry Cooper Rush right now, right? Because they have other roster decisions to make. It allows them to maybe wait for an injury to happen. And if it does, they can stash somebody on injured reserve. It's kind of clever. It's a lot of work to go through, obviously, and you have to be really organized. But the Cowboys seemingly are prepared for this. We've seen other NFL teams do this. This is kind of a new thing. This is a product, again, of the 2020 collective bargaining agreements. We've only seen 2 seasons worth of this kind of action. But it's hard, right? It is difficult to come up right now with 3 players who you have to cut. If you want to obviously bring up Cooper Rush, Brett Maher, and maybe Jason Peters if the Cowboys do sign him, versus, right, say the Cowboys do what we all want and sign Jason Peters on Thursday, then you only have to cut one of them, right? You only have to cut one player here. You put Jason Peters on this roster. You don't have to do a thing. You literally don't. The Cowboys could literally not touch this roster with Jason Peters on it for whatever I said it was, 9-10 days. And then next Sunday, when they're getting ready to play the Buccaneers the day before, they could just say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put Cooper Rush and Brett Maher in the special trick spots, and we can use them against the Buccaneers. And look, there are some teams that obviously have backup quarterbacks who they don't feel comfortable, gambling with, who have kickers who they don't feel comfortable gambling with. Like, you would never do this if Justin Tucker were your kicker or something like that. But the Cowboys are in a position where, to be frank, their talent at those positions is so low enough and so not envied enough by other NFL teams that they can get kind of cute. And it kind of feels like they're doing that. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, RJ, maybe you're rambling on about nothing. Maybe the Cowboys are just going to put Cooper Rush on the active roster tomorrow. To that, I would say, why are Cooper Rush and Brett Maher both on the practice squad? Because if the Cowboys were just waiting, if they were eventually going to put them on the 53-man roster, they would have done it. They wouldn't have gone through the process of putting them on the practice squad. That would have been a waste of time. All right. They could have put other players on the practice squad, right? Somebody else who they cut, somebody who they prioritize, somebody who they value across the NFL, whatever. This is a little bit interesting. And you can't do it, you could, but it would be very difficult to do for the duration of the entire regular season. But even if you can do it for, 6, 7, 8 weeks, with players that are lower down the roster, you bought yourself some extra room for error, some extra room for other players on your roster. So if we're on to the Cowboys, if this is what they're doing, kudos to them. I think this is smart. Utilize the loopholes that exist within the NFL, within roster construction. This is a different level of roster manipulation that we're seeing the Cowboys take advantage of because of the rule that was created with the CBA 2 years ago. So I wanted to address that. I know it was long. I know it was detailed. If you have any questions, I'm also going to be writing about this at bloggingtheboys.com. I haven't written about it at the time of this show, but it's a confusing thing, but it's something that we have to know, obviously, as we follow the NFL. We follow the Dallas Cowboys. We all care. Making sure there's no news that's come out while we've been on about Jason Peters. But no, we're all good here. But either way, it has to happen. All right. Damon says Peters is 40 years old, so it shouldn't cost that much. Leadership. Totally agreed. Trainer Joe says even if Peters helps you win one game, that can be the difference in winning the division, playoff seeding. Totally agreed. Let's see here. Let's move. Let's find Ethan says, I hope we sign Peters as long as he's better than alternative. He is. DeLunatic says Peters is not great, but he is still better than our team's options. Agreed. You have to bring him in, as far as I'm concerned. You have to bring Jason Peters in if you're the Dallas Cowboys. DeLunatic says this move makes too much sense. I'm afraid Steven won't go for it. Look, I don't know. I don't know if I really think that the Cowboys care about the way their fans perceive them, but I mean, this has been a rough ride. This has been a rough ride all off season long. It's been a rough ride, obviously, over the last few weeks. It's been a rough ride, specifically over the last week. This, like I said this at the very beginning, this turns the tide. This gets a lot of people to say, you know what, we're in. You know what, we believe. You know what, we're back. You know what, whatever the case may be. And so you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to do this, Cowboys. All right, Jason, I know you're listening. Just sign it. Whatever deal the Cowboys give you, sign it. Make them give you a lot of money because they have a lot of money to spend. Steven, Jerry, Will, Mike, do it, bro, please. We don't ask for a lot. We just ask to win the Super Bowl every year. And in this case, we're asking for Jason Peters. So if you could do it, that would be awesome. Chan, the man, Gailey, #1 coach, says, LOL, you think Peters will help your team? Your team has massive fundamental issues. Mike is your coach. I mean, yeah, they have a lot of issues, but if the question is, will he help their team? Yeah, he does. Like, I don't see how that's like a thing that you can debate. He helps their team. So, okay. We covered practice squad. We covered the cute little loopholes the Cowboys are maybe trying to exploit. We covered Jason Peters. Wednesday started off rough because the Jalen Reagor trade happened and he kind of went for more than Amari Cooper did. We're not here to relitigate that. All right. We've done that enough times. All right. Let's be positive. All right. We're going to try to all will Jason Peters into existence. I want everybody, whatever you eat for dinner on Wednesday night, I want you to take a bite for Jason Peters. We're just going to think good thoughts. All right. Maybe it's like you take an extra sip of that root beer. You take an extra bite of that dessert, whatever. Just do something for Jason Peters. Just put some positive energy into the world. That's what we're trying to do. And hopefully tomorrow we're doing a video celebrating the newest left tackle for the eventual Super Bowl winning Dallas Cowboys. And that is Jason Peters. My name is RJ Ochoa. You know me from all throughout the Blog on the Boys universe. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. On TikTok, that's right, I'm cool, at rj.ochoa. If you want to email me, you can, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com is how you do that. You can always leave a comment down below. We'll do our best to get to those also. This was a good day. Good day, all things considered. Yeah, everybody, I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy that extra bite or whatever it's going to be. I hope it's magnificent. And I hope that the next time I see your bright, shining, beautiful face, that Jason Peters is on this team. The Lunatic says, RJ, we need to make this happen. I'm guaranteeing, with absolutely no knowledge of the situation whatsoever, that the next time that we talk, Jason Peters is on the Dallas Cowboys. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day. We love you all.